That's awesome. So, one thing that I'm doing now, right, as, just graduated college, I'm 23, still figuring it out, is I'm trying to find like that why or like the passion behind like what I'm doing. And like I can see now from, just the beginning of this conversation that you're super passionate about what you do in your job and helping people. And it's like you said, it's not just about showing up to the gym and working on your six pack and trying to get bigger biceps, right? There's a lot that goes into it. So, let's take it back to like the beginning, to like where like all of this started. I did some digging, and you used to work out before school with your brother. Is that correct? And then you guys would go to school, and then you do sports practice afterwards. Is that right?
So I have a twin brother, and we're really close. And he wanted to be in the Navy for a really long time, like since he was like in middle school. And so we, through my stepmother who served in the Navy as well, she was doing this like outdoor boot camp program called SEAL Team Physical Training, and it was run by this former Navy SEAL John McGuire, and it was at different outdoor parks all around Charlottesville. He's also in Richmond
Okay.
too, and but he so obviously my stepmom was doing that, so it's not like it's a program just cut out for a young people or for people pursuing the military, but it certainly could be. And so my brother and I joined her in doing that every morning, and it became a part of our like high school routine, which definitely was my first introduction to fitness as more than just like well, it was a lot of things. It wasn't just so like beforehand my like training or practice was for a certain sport. And so, meeting somewhere outdoors was my first introduction as a young person to a working with lots of different people,
Right.
different ages, different backgrounds. So like my brother and I were the youngest by far there. There were college kids there, but mostly there were middle-aged men and women, like 30s, 40s, 50s, and we became really good friends with these men and women. And it was like our first taste of just this unifying component of fitness where it's like, bringing people together to push themselves regardless of ability. Um, Everyone's kind of working on their own thing, but as a team or as a group. And it's kind of like gave me that first taste of, you're only as fast as your slowest person on your team. And that teamwork component was really I don't know, that was probably one of the most standout parts of like that whole program was just like the team building and the leadership involved. Like, as a 16-year-old kid, how was I gonna be a leader amongst like people that were twice triple and triple my age? And so that was a really cool thing to be a part of. But it was my first taste of fitness as just look like wellness,
Right.
right? Like after yourself and getting stronger just to be strong and capable and energized and focused for the day and whatnot. So yeah, we did that we did that from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. We'd go right to school, shower in the sack, which I don't even know
Oh
if the
yeah, I
sack's
know the sack. Yep.
we shower there, and I'd run into like Sophie Spidell or sometimes because she would do all her like long distance running, and,
Yep.
and she was the coaching for the JV lacrosse team, and I was on varsity at the time, and she would just be like, "Did you go to SEAL team this morning?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I did." And she was always telling me how I was like doing too much, and which is funny because I think it just was it's different because you don't see a lot of kids doing
Yeah.
that much. But I loved it, and wasn't gonna stop doing that. And then lacrosse practice later, or basketball practice, or cross country practice. The cross country days were a little
A little
challenging.
tough. Yeah, that's like a double workout.
Oh man, like we probably run at least 3 to 6 miles in the morning session, maybe 3 to 5, I'd say. And so it was a lot of a lot of mileage, but yeah, it got me really interested in fitness for health, and like then I was starting to get, I start to see that translate into my sports practices and improving my athleticism. And then from there, it was okay. Well, dialing in my nutrition a little bit. I didn't really dial things in much of or wasn't super aware of nutrition outside of what my parents just
Fed
kind
you
of,
on the table.
and they were really good. You know, they always had home cooked family meals together, and we were all part of that dinner making process. Um, but yeah, so I continued to do SEAL team. Every summer I was home from college. You know, any Christmas breaks or spring breaks or anything, I was home. I would continue to be part of this group. But yeah, that really kind of sparked. Like I remember vividly getting my acceptance letter from Virginia Tech, and then being unsure about what I wanted to major in, and then um, and then I was kind of going down the list of majors, and I was like nutrition, food, and exercise. Like
Sounds like
that's
reality.
that's exactly like, yeah, that's perfect. Like I'm starting my kind of nutrition fitness journey now, and starting to open my eyes to like more beyond just typical sports team practices, and how that can be just a way of like a healthy lifestyle, and living, and consistency, and yeah, all these great things. So that kind of opened, that was the start of it all, and then it increased in college throughout.
Awesome. Well, I'm curious about, so you transitioned from, doing classes before school and doing cross country and, these type of activities. But then what led you to OCR? Because and don't get mad at me, but my like understanding of OCR is Tough Mudder competitions where you have to crawl and not get hit by the tasers that are like swinging like above you. So could you first break down like what a race looks like for you, like the hardest race that you've done, like break it down, like, when you wake up in the morning to like when you cross the finish line, break it down, and then talk about how you got into that.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I don't know if you want the backstory of how I kind of
No,
got into.
that's why we're here. Let's hear it.
Oh shoot, let's do it. Yeah, so like I said, cross country and lacrosse were like my primary sports in high school. And then so I really wanted to play lacrosse in college. And when I went to Virginia Tech, I knew it probably wasn't going to be, like, maybe could try walking on. But I kind of I found out about their club lacrosse team, and so I joined that for the first 2 years. Really enjoyed it, and then I was kept itching to do more. Like I felt like I really loved fitness at this time, and was excited to push myself and challenge myself to do more. So I joined the triathlon team my junior and senior year,
Okay.
and triathlon was great because I didn't know how to swim at the time. I didn't know how. I mean, aside from like doggy paddling,
Doggy paddling in the pool.
and so I didn't know how to swim, and I just kind of picked up biking, road biking, because my mom was starting that the summer before, and I really just had a running background, so I was like, cool, I can run. That's all I got. Help me, guys. And we've had a really awesome club triathlon team where the student board who was like in charge of it, our student coaches were like, come all, come any. Like seriously, you don't have to have any background in triathlon. You don't have to know how to do any of the three sports. Like we'll just come and have an open mind, and be committed to improving. And so I was like, cool, I got all those things. So signed up for my first triathlon like 8 weeks into the school year. I was like, I'll be damned. Like, I'm just gonna sign up for this triathlon at Smith Mountain Lake, and I was like, I'm just gonna have the date for it, so I'm gonna be prepared by the time it comes. Like, otherwise, I'll just keep putting it off, and I won't do triathlon. So, did triathlons all that year. Loved it. Got into strength training as well, like a little bit of like kind of lifting and some squatting and deadlift stuff at the time. And then the summer after my junior year, that's when my friend from SEAL Team PT called me, and she's a bit older than me, but she called me and she was like, "Hey, I know this is last minute. This is like a Friday night. I know it's last minute, but I signed up to do this obstacle course race called Battle Frog, and I sprained my ankle and I can't do it. And I just thought of you and wanted to know if you wanted to run it. It's tomorrow morning." I was like, "Oh," and this is like at maybe 6 o'clock. I was like, "Let me get back to you." And I'm just like thinking about it, and like plugged in my GPS. It was like 3 hours away, or maybe it was 2 hours. It was a decent drive. It's like, why not? Like, I'll do it. I don't know a single soul. Had never run. I'd done one Spartan race non-competitively before I go. I was like, cool. Like, let's just go. So I drove up. I think I told my mom. I was like, "Hey, Mom, I'm going on this race. I'll see you later." All this stuff. And I ran this obstacle course race, and it had like high walls and bucket carry or heavy jug carries. It had like a paintball station where you'd like hit a certain target.
You had to pick up. You had to run to the gun, pick it up, and shoot. Oh wow! How do you train for that? Who has a paintball gun lying around?
We definitely did growing up. Yeah. And then there was like tons of mud, barbed wire crawls, and like caving ladders, all this stuff. It was so fun. I enjoyed every minute of it, and I ended up winning the race. And I was like, "What the heck? This was the coolest thing." I think they were paying out $1,000 for the winner, and I was like, "Damn it! I just won $1,000! Like this is so cool!" And I had a blast doing it. I'm covered in mud, and I got a helicopter ride at the finish.
Oh, that's
Like
cool.
yeah, it was. They went a little bit. They went all out for this first race.
Awesome.
But yeah, and so like one race, I met some people there. Like, hey, we do these a lot. Like we do these Spartan races as well. And there's one next weekend. You should come to DC and do it. So I went to DC the next weekend and made the podium there. Then they're like, hey, you should come to Boston in 2 weeks. Like, there's another one here. So I just was like, my weekends that summer was just racing, and I was doing really well. And my training and my nutrition seemed to like help like match up with everything and all the things I was trying to do. And yeah, and so and then that led to the Spartan Race World Championship that fall. So the fall of my senior year, and I was like, man, it would be really cool to make top 10. I would love it, and maybe I could make top 5, but that might be a stretch. And found myself leading the race up until the last like 2-3 miles, and it was like a 15-mile course.
15 miles of what?
15 miles on a ski resort.
Oh my gosh.
Like up mountains, down mountains, up black diamonds, down black, like you're just going all over.
Wow.
That was the hard, like still to this day, that's the hardest race I've ever done. I was 21 at the time, and it was probably my 5th competitive Spartan race, maybe my 6th, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I found myself leading the race, and I was like, this is so cool. And then the last couple miles, I kind of started falling apart, which I look back and I'm like, damn, I wish my nutrition during the race, I hadn't dialed that in yet, because I'd never done anything that long.
Right.
And so, that I felt like I was starting to break down a little bit toward the end, and there was tons of obstacles. I was losing strength. It was a 4.5-hour race. Like it was I never run that long. And so he ended up finishing second that race, and then had some offers from Battle Frog Pro Team and the Spartan Race Pro Team to join them all, for the next competitive year. And so that was kind of like my first crazy introduction to the sport. And, to answer your question, I actually hadn't done a Tough Mudder until the following year, 2015. And I just did the world's toughest Mudder, which is the Tough Mudder course, but you do as many laps as you can in 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you should look into it. It's pretty epic. So imagine that electricity, like the shocking, electric eel, and imagine doing that for 24 hours. Like
I can barely run down the street towards the beach. I run like a mile in like 9 minutes, and I get back and I'm like, "Whew, good work, Korben. Time to like sit on the couch and play video games." Like, I don't know about a 24-hour fitness competition. That's crazy.
What's funny is I have still to this day never gone through that shocking
Oh, you haven't done that?
Never done, because they hadn't turned off during this. I don't think they included them in this World Toughest Mudder event, and I've always been so like scared of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get shocked. But yeah, I think with obstacle course racing, it's fun because, and what appeals to me so much still to this day is that it's a combination of running and strength training. Like you can't just be a runner, and you can't just be a lifter or a strongman type person. Like you really have to work on both ends of the spectrum, and I think that's what keeps the training for it so fun, because it's what keeps it fun, because it can look like anything. Like the training really can look like, initially it was triathlon and SEAL team and running. Like that was my training for it. And then it turned into like more CrossFit, like a little bit of CrossFit style training plus running. And then I got a little bit burnt out from just straight running, or got burnt out from the obstacle course racing a little bit, and decided to pursue CrossFit, and that for a couple of years. And that was fun, and it kind of scratched that like lifter itch in me that I was like trying to really, really hone in on, like this really empowering weightlifting kind of activity that I'd never really done before. And then now I'm kind of in this space where it's cool because there's a lot more race series coming about that are kind of targeting this hybrid style athlete where it's like a little bit of fitness, like kind of there's some fitness stations in these races, but then there's some obstacles and then there's some running. And so I felt like there's been something to kind of scratch my competitive itch like over the past 7 years of competing. Like since 2014, I've just whatever direction I've gone with my training because I've enjoyed it. Like if I get sick of doing one thing and then I start doing another thing and then there's something competitive that I can do to kind of keep me excited about it and just kind of like I enjoy competition, so that's always been a big part of just my my like athletic background. It's like I like to have something to strive for, keep me on my toes and keep me motivated to work towards something specific. But you have to be able to carry heavy sandbags and buckets up really steep mountains or hills, and then you have to be a technical runner because a lot of these trails, especially at different ski resorts, are they're intricate and rocky, and you have to be able to descend mountains and climb mountains well, and you have to be able to climb ropes and like balance and jump over big walls and do monkey bar stuff. So I really feel like it's always so different. Like everything's so different. There's different components to keep things exciting, and so that's a cool thing to be a part of.
I'm curious, how do you like in terms of like from a game putting your game face on standpoint, right? How do you manage these courses and these races like up here in your head? Like what's your mindset? Because if it's you said 14 miles, I'm sure there's people passing you. I'm sure you might catch a cramp or I'm sure you may not scale the wall fast. I'm still learning. You might not scale the wall fast enough, but like what type of mindset do you have to compete in these races? And then two, how do you see that mindset translate, whether it be in your friendships or your relationships or just how you do everyday life?
Yeah, it's an awesome question. And I've struggled with mindset a little bit too because initially, like the mindset was just, I'm so excited to try something new. Like, I don't know especially when I was brand new to it, I didn't know what to expect, but I had this open mind. Like, I had this open mind to whatever that was going to come my way. It was going to be exciting and new. And I think I'm prepared for it. And so, and that's kind of what fueled my first couple of races was just this pure curiosity and enjoyment of doing these new things that I never really got to do before in a type of like competitive event. And then, once I got into the thick of it, like 2015, I think I did 27 races from March to November in 2015. So it ended up being like, you know, more than two races a month. And, and that played with my head a lot because then I got to a point where I was scared of losing, scared of letting down, like because I was getting paid to compete on these pro teams, I was put a lot of pressure on myself and I was scared to fail. I was scared to come in anything worse than third place. And then it keeps you up at night. And then I think about, I focus on the obstacles that give me a lot of trouble. And I get in my head about it. And then the doubt starts to creep in. And so it's trying to find this like confidence that you don't really have sometimes, especially, you go that initial excitement of like, oh, I don't know what to expect, to now all of a sudden you're a year into doing these races. Sometimes you still don't know what to expect, but instead of being excited about it and like, oh, I really hope like I prepared well for it. Now it comes down to, oh my gosh, I hope this doesn't like hold me back, or what if the next girl passes me because, then I don't make the podium and then I let my sponsors down and then like maybe I don't get asked to be on the team again. And so that was kind of a really that was a tough challenge for me, like trying to find confidence and that joy and that lightheartedness about racing that I had initially and felt like it kind of lost the more I got deeper and deeper into the sport. And I think once I put less pressure on myself to compete, it was like, hey, is racing going to be my full-time thing or not? And it was like pretty clear off the bat, or not too long in, like, I don't want this to be my full-time thing.
Okay.
Like, that's way too stressful. And I'm not trying to be the best obstacle course racer in the world. I've never really been like the best at anything. And so to me, it wasn't like I was chasing after the nutrition and the fitness and like helping people adopt healthier lifestyles. Like, that's always been like a bigger mission of mine in life. And so once I kind of was like, hey, this isn't my full-time thing. I've got other things to focus on too. Like, I'm going to go to school, or I've got this other job that I'm working on. Once I took that step back, and I think last year, 2020, was a really good year for that, because I was just like, it doesn't matter. Like, no one remembers if you like win or lose something. It's just your attitude about it, how you did you learn from it? Did you apply that to like the things I can remember from the last 7 years of racing? Some of them were winning, but I honestly don't remember a lot of those things. I remember the races that had a big impact on me because I failed in some way, and it fueled me, or it taught me something about how I need to do something the next time. Those are like the biggest things that stand out. So it's been this interesting learning curve of being okay with failure and not seeing failure as the thing to avoid at all costs, and more of like embracing that sometimes, and realizing that that's going to come with the territory of being a competitive athlete, and not being scared of it, not like running toward it. Of course, they want to succeed. I don't want to just have so much a lack of self-confidence where I just automatically default to failing,
Right.
but be more receptive to it.
So one of my sisters, we're switching gears here a little bit. She plays women's football.
Yeah.
She's like was on the USA gold medal team. Like it's full tackle football. It's not lingerie football league where they think guys are grabbing their beers and coming out to games. Like, she plays real football, and she grew up with two older brothers who also played football, and kind of similar to you, she just hung out with the guys. So talk a little bit about the fact that your sport, what you do, like, you work out hard, like you're squatting, you're deadlifting. Like, I think a lot of times people think that if you're female, you aren't supposed to like be super strong or be able to do all these awesome things. And I mean, me seeing her do that, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're a guy or girl, orange, green, or yellow. Just talk a little bit about your experience of taking on this career, and how you're able to kind of inspire like young girls or girls my age or people that are your age, how you can inspire them.
Yeah, it's really fun to be in. I mean, I wish it came earlier, honestly, because it's about time that women were empowered for more than just their looks and their thin body, and just all outward appearance based. But it is cool to also be in a male dominated sport right now that is, where in a time where women are um, finding their voice about these issues about male dominated society, or male dominated sport culture, and having strong women being evolving into the mix, and it would be very different if this was 20 years ago, and maybe I would feel like I'm the only one. There's definitely some women long decades ago that were kind of paving the trail for all of us to come now. But it's I love seeing this transition into like strong women, and focusing more on capability rather than looks. And I think, and capability and performance, and I think it's, I don't know, I think it's really special. And I was thinking about this question because I know you sent me that in the email beforehand. And growing up with brothers, like, that was very comfortable for me. It was very comfortable for me to be in a male setting, like on an all boys soccer team, and I didn't really think twice about it because I was just grew up with just always around boys, and then I was always around their friends, and it just didn't faze me. But I realized that a lot of women and girls don't have that experience, and so it can be very intimidating. And so for me, it's cool when you see little girls at your races, at races, kind of come up to you and be like I want to be as strong as you are, or taking after taking after women in your sport, as young little kids, and running like these little kid Spartan races, and just feeling like they belong there, and
Right.
they have a place there. And so I was thinking about this, like I said before, before we had our conversation, and I think this is something that's really cool. That's happening now is the women in our sport specifically, are coming together to be an even louder voice in the sport of obstacle course racing in particular. So there's one gal, Nicole Miracle, and she's putting together like an all women's. She's like one of the top female obstacle course racers in our sport, and she's putting together a all women's team called the OCR Dream Team, where she's taking women and women who are really excited about obstacle course racing and want to pursue that higher level, but don't necessarily feel like they are there yet, or they're lacking some of the tools. And then she's putting together like a panel or a team of all women coaches and nutritionists, dietitians, sports therapists, and she's creating a team to help this team of girls get to that next level. And so she's asked me to be one of the dietitians within that team, to help support that team. And I just think of, how cool that is. And especially coming from one of the top obstacle course racers in the sport, for her to want to see the success of the sport beyond where it's at now, but also she's at the top. And so she's like firsthand trying to bring up, like elevate the competition. And that's all, those are all women who could very likely be beating her in the next couple of years.
Right.
And to her, she's realizing that she has a bigger voice, and she can have an even greater impact teaming up with other women who want the same. So I think we're in a really cool time right now to empower other women and kind of pave this way in like a very male dominated sport and society, and start changing the dialogue there.
That's awesome. So you all are doing things internally. What is the sport doing for you? What are like some external things that you're kind of getting a boost from, if there are any?
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely think that for me, one of the first things that I really enjoyed about the sport was because of that strength component. Like, you can't, women in running has been, that's most of the time it's, women you see, especially at school, like in university, I remember like seeing a lot of girls that are always on the elliptical or always on the treadmill. So like, that's been nothing new, but to finally to have a sport where there's a strength component, and women have to train for it, specifically for it. And, you have to lift weights, and you have to be able to hold yourself and maybe do some pull-ups, or, have body control and all this stuff. Like that's still somewhat new to, I think you don't see a lot of as many women as you do men in doing a lot of strength training. And so now that's been shifting. And for me personally, like my first introduction to strength training, like actual or weight training, I should say, was, my sophomore, junior year of college. And so, but that was really empowering for me. And that's what even coaching at Fit to Recover, my nutrition class or my fitness classes, I hear a lot of girls saying like, wow, I didn't realize how strong I was. I didn't realize I was capable of that. And this is empowering. Like, it makes me feel powerful, and that I can be confident in my strength and my own ability. And I think I just think that's a beautiful thing.
So we talked a lot about, how you kind of came up, and, what you're doing now, and how it's all kind of mixed in. What are you working to, what are you working on right now? When we log off, or when you wake up tomorrow, Monday morning, like, what's that, like the top of your, to-do list or your goals list, and how are you going to achieve that, or how are you hoping to achieve that based on what we've talked about, based on learning from your failures and what we spoke about, what's currently going on for you right now?
Yeah, and right now I'm in a unique place because, like I said, I'm working on so many different things, but all of these things I feel really passionate about. So, like with my work at with my nonprofit, Fit to Recover, I'm constantly um, trying to understand the population that I work with. Like that's a never ending process. I show up to work willing and able and interested in learning more about the population I'm serving. And from a nutrition standpoint, like what does that look like? What does the research say? Um, what what are effective strategies for empowering men and women in recovery with the tools they need to take care of themselves or want to take care of themselves? Like what's in it for them? Why should they care? And if they don't understand that, that's the knowledge gap that I need to bridge. um, and then that goes for my own like personal clientele. My online coaching business that I have is, always trying to, it's less about, of course I want to get my clients results, but ultimately I want to empower them to take charge of their nutrition and feel confident about the choices they're making in their food, and why, like why it matters, why um, why they're eating certain foods, and what elements of those foods are going to serve them in certain ways, not to like a super scientific level, but I want to help people understand, because when you understand, you have the knowledge to act upon those things. And if you don't understand, you just kind of do without knowing without knowing. And oftentimes, they're they're not our best or most sound choices. So always, like every day, like I want to learn something new and I want to challenge myself in some way, shape, or form. And that looks like a lot of different things with all the things that I'm involved with. Like sometimes it's talking, giving presentations in front of people. Sometimes it's connecting at a really personal level with an individual or individuals in a very vulnerable, phase of their recovery, and trying to support and inspire or motivate them in some way. Um, so in that regard, like I just think always learning and being open minded that, I've got a pattern, like a kind of a, I don't know, my everyday, like I've got a schedule and things that I do every day, but I'm always willing to change that up because I realize that there's probably a lot of things out there that I'm not doing that I should be doing. And so trying to learn as much as I can from other people who, are doing big things in this world, and being open-minded to new strategies. And I think that's, with continued learning beyond schooling, that's a big component of my job, especially in a field that's ever evolving and there's new research coming out and new strategies, and I just want to stay on top of that. And then, from like a physical standpoint, obviously competing is something I love to do, but I also think it pushes me to challenge myself outside of competing too, in work and in life and in relationships. And so, trying to do something that pushes my comfort zone most days, if not every day, so that it gives me a perspective, right? It's like when I voluntarily choose to do something challenging in my day or walk through a little discomfort, it puts a lot of things in perspective later when that discomfort or those challenges pop up that I was not expecting. And I realize that I'm capable of walking through that discomfort or those challenges or that pain because I've done it before, or I've trained myself to be able to withstand those things. And so that's what, for me right now, like above all, like fitness does that for me, is strengthening me both from a physical standpoint, but also a mental and emotional standpoint, because you don't, of course it's not comfortable. I don't love doing certain workouts, but I do it because I like the feeling, that euphoric feeling afterwards, where it's like, wow, I did that and I didn't think I could do that before. I was doubting myself, wasn't sure if I could do that, or I really wanted to quit, but I kept going. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about life is that it's a struggle and there's challenges in it. There's always going to be obstacles, and having the confidence to walk through it, knowing that you're capable is powerful.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so yeah, I don't know. Again, I hope I'm answering your questions. They're great questions, but I still figuring a lot of this stuff out. But it's been quite a ride. I'll say that.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, taking the time, especially on a Sunday evening. I realize maybe that's not the best time to take, an hour of someone's day is on a Sunday.
Fun for me. Yeah, I appreciate your flexibility, Corbin.
But I just appreciate how insightful, you've been this entire time. And I think the reason why I asked you to come on, and I think you just said it yourself, is you're very strong physically and you're also very strong mentally. And you can kind of see both, and it comes out for you in very unique ways. And you go to your Instagram page or a YouTube video and you're kicking ass doing these races, and you're carrying heavy things and getting dirty and competing and doing all these things, which is awesome. And then in your job with Fit to Recover, you also have to be mentally strong, right? Working with people who before they walk in your doors could have been going through something terrible. They no idea how their life has been, their struggle. I'm sure they're different walks of life than you are. So it was really awesome to be able to hear from you and someone who's really doing it. Like, you're in the thick of it right now, and the way that your career works is you gotta put the work in. You gotta put the effort in. Whether it be for your races, you're not gonna show up for a Spartan race day of ready to go without training. And then when you meet with the people from your program, you can't just walk in that day and say, all right, guess I'm just gonna give some advice and see how it goes. So I mean, it's just awesome to hear from someone like yourself who's really putting your feet on the ground and getting things done.
Thanks, Corbin. Yeah, the preparation process is key. No matter what, it's the planning, it's the time in advance. In order to execute. In the way that you want to. And so I'm learning that. And again, some executions are better than others. But again, I think if we have an open mind to it and we're okay, we embrace the failures and we embrace the successes and all the small things in between. I think it gets you a lot further in life. So
Awesome.
thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking you out on your next race, and we'll cheer you on. But yeah, I thank you. Thank you a lot, and this is a great conversation, and I hope things continue to go well for you and your program and your workouts. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Yeah, please stay in touch, and I'd love to continue following this podcast and what you do with it. And I'm really grateful to be a part of this, and wish you all the best as well. And stay in touch, please.
I will, absolutely. Thanks, Corinna.
Thanks, Corbin. Bye.
Bye.